Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on KAJ, Montana's news leader.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Don Fisher. A fairly quiet week weather-wise in northwestern Montana, but a new system coming through may bring some rain and snow for the weekend. For more, let's toss it over to meteorologist Russ Thomas to have a look at our first forecast. Russ?
Yeah, in fact, we have a winter weather advisory in place right now for just about all of western Montana. That does include the Flathead Valley, Mission Valley, and northwest Montana. Let's go ahead and show what we're expecting. And again, it's not so much snow, it's more freezing rain. That opportunity to see it both this evening, overnight, and through tomorrow morning. Now, with freezing rain, we get the slick sidewalks, very slick, bridges, roadways, parking lots, driveways as well. Again, very tricky surfaces out there when you are traveling. This goes to 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Then we should see a conversion over to some snowfall. We'll have your complete forecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Russ. The Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe has a new chairman to add to their tribal council. Ron Trahan, who has served on the council for 14 years, was elected today, and he served as chairman once before in 2014. Vernon Finley was the previous chairman. Trahan grew up in St. Ignatius, served in the U.S. Army, worked with the Tribal Health and the Salish Kootenai Housing Authority and Kicking Horse Job Corps before joining the council. The Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes Tribal Council members serve 4-year terms, and every 2 years, 5 are up for re-election. And Senator Jon Tester's statewide Montennial tour continued today in Kalispell, and the senator has been speaking at colleges and high school campuses and other local businesses to get input from field questions from millennials in Montana. MTN's Jack Ginsburg shows us what he learned from the students.
Senator Jon Tester was at Glacier High School in Kalispell Friday morning to talk to students from Glacier, Whitefish, Columbia Falls, Flathead, and Stillwater Christian School. After a brief introduction and background of himself, the senator answered questions ranging from net neutrality and the new tax bill to same-sex marriage and the state of the North Korea situation.
They were asking questions that were pretty in-depth. They'd done their homework, and I think that's encouraging, and I think that I think it's positive for the country. They're so much further advanced than we give them credit for that I always tell them I long for when they take over running this country, because they're gonna fix the stuff that we're screwing up.
One of those students, Erica Bragg, says she was impressed by the questions asked by her fellow students, but was even more satisfied with the way the senator answered them.
We asked some hard questions and he answered them so honestly and truthfully that it was really respectable, because he gave us the truth and how he felt and didn't sugarcoat it because of our age or because of maybe our views.
While Tester was fascinated with the students here in the Flathead, he says he has been impressed with kids across the entire state of Montana.
I would love to tell you that the Glacier is the exception and not the rule, but I've been all over the state talking to kids in AA schools, A schools, B schools, C schools, and it's pretty much the same everywhere. These guys are engaged, they know what's going on, they're far more savvy than we give them credit for.
Tester was asked a lot of questions about his personal opinions and what he would do to certain policy if he could change them. Bragg says she was happy to hear that he understands not everyone agrees, and in her opinion is what makes him an ideal representative for Montana.
He understands that everyone believes something different and that he's just going on his morals. And so I think that he's a great representative of Montana.
Jack Ginsburg, MTN News, Kalispell.
And to find future dates for the rest of the tour, you can find a link to our website, mkaj18.com. And overall graduation and completion rates are up in Montana, while dropout rates are stagnant compared to last year, according to numbers released by the state superintendent's office. According to the report, graduation rates saw a slight increase, up about 0.2%. There was a larger increase in Montana's completion rate, which is up almost a full percentage point over last year, but Montana's dropout rate remains unchanged at just over 2%. Superintendent Elsie Arnson says that the gains may not seem like much, but they are pleased with the jumps and hope to build on that this year.
Part of my job then is going to be expanding that completion rate even more so, to acknowledge the fact that students do go out into the workforce, that they do accomplish school, and it might be in a different time frame because we all learn differently.
And Superintendent Arnson will be in Kalispell next week to talk to school leaders and students at the annual Montana Contractors Association meeting.
Salute to Service is brought to you by Flathead Electric Cooperative, your not-for-profit member-owned co-op.
When disaster strikes, the American Red Cross is there. In this week's Salute to Service, MTN's Nicole Miller introduces us to Ted Coing, the disaster program manager for the Red Cross in Kalispell. When most people were headed out to the Virgin Islands after Irma and Maria hit, he headed in to provide relief to those affected.
When Hurricane Irma and Maria hit the Virgin Islands back in September, the need for disaster relief was urgent. While many headed out of the area.
This is Ted Koenig coming to you from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Ted Koenig, the disaster program manager for the Red Cross Kalispell, headed into the storm's path of destruction.
Right now, Red Cross staff on this island and the other two islands are focused on delivering food, other basic staples to people who've been affected by these terrific storms.
Every 8 minutes, the Red Cross brings help and hope to those who need it, whether the disaster is large or small. For Koenig's service to the people devastated by the Category 5 storms, Senator Daines named him as Montanan of the Week in early December.
Any evacuees needing space tonight, food, lodging, welcome here.
But Koenig's service goes far above and beyond his relief efforts to the people of the Virgin Islands. When the Red Cross opened a shelter over the summer in Hungry Horse in response to wildfire evacuations in Glacier National Park, he prepared it.
We have cots, blankets, we'll be serving warm meals for anybody who might need them.
Koenig spent about 2 weeks serving the people of the Virgin Islands, but you can typically find him helping neighbors right here in the Flathead Valley.
We respond to things like home fires, or when there's larger disasters like wildfires or floods. Really, I help support and coordinate the volunteers, again, roughly 90% of our workforce here in the Red Cross, that go out and do the work out in the field.
Nicole Miller, MTN News, Kalispell.
And Koenig also served in the Peace Corps for 3 years. Hundreds of dancers are descending on Missoula next week for a competition that brings them from all over the world. One young ballerina from Ecuador received a scholarship to come to Montana for the first time.
I hope to take away every single correction and opportunity that they gave me here to Ecuador to do a better dancing and find a career.
And she'll be performing 3 ballet pieces next week in both contemporary and classical styles, but it's more than just a competition. Ballet Beyond Borders is also considered by its directors to be a humanitarian effort because it explores how dance and diplomacy combine. This event was previously called the Vienna International Ballet Experience. 2018 will mark the 20 years of Rocky Mountain Ballet Theater in Missoula, the organization that puts on the event. Organizers say you don't need to be an expert to appreciate the performances.
So you don't need a skill set to come into the theater. I mean, and that's part of the Ballet Beyond Borders experience. It should touch you. You're going to have favorites. Maybe it's a body type, maybe it's the music, maybe it's the choreography, maybe it's all of the above. But you should be leaving with an experience that's going to stay with you.
And all but 2 of the events are free due to sponsor support, and tickets to see the wife of singer Gene Kelly will be sharing personal stories about his life Tuesday to open the event, and the Saturday Gala is available also. You can find more information on that on our website. One of Missoula's hospitals is gearing up to combat a killer. Heart attacks are still one of the main causes of death for people in the United States, and Community Medical Center hosted training for its emergency response staff to help improve the process when dealing with this issue.
After today, I think there will be better communication hopefully between the patient and EMS, and therefore EMS to both the ERs and in the cath lab, so that that patient has a better outcome.
CMC's new cardiologist, local EMS, the emergency department, and the catheterization lab, or cath lab, staff all participated in the simulation. During the training, they went through step by step from the moment they received the call to the moment the patient would have been taken to the cath lab. After the patient was taken care of, the staff had a meeting to discuss areas which they could improve. They stressed the importance of calling 911 and letting them transport you to the hospital themselves, but also said that there are steps you can take before EMS arrives.
One of the best things you can do for yourself is to give yourself aspirin as long as you don't have an allergy to it or your doctor's instructions you not to take it.
Symptoms of a heart attack can often be subtle. Nausea, sweating, and shortness of breath are just a few of these symptoms, and we'll have more on this story tonight at 10. A new book critical of President Trump has gone on sale despite threats of a lawsuit, and the book's author is defending his work despite White House attacks against its credibility. Mo Langhi has more details from the White House.
The author of an explosive new book about the Trump White House is standing by his work.
I have recordings, I have notes. I am certainly and absolutely in every way comfortable with everything I've reported in this book.
But President Trump is attacking the book, saying he did not authorize access to the White House, that he never spoke to the book's author, and that it is full of lies and misrepresentations. Michael Wolff tells NBC's Today Show the president is wrong.
I absolutely spoke to the president. Whether he realized it was an interview or not, I don't know, but it certainly was not off the record.
President Trump tried to stop the release of the book and had his lawyers send cease and desist letters to Wolff and the book's publisher, threatening legal action.
Regardless of whether or not there's a lawsuit, they should be concerned about peddling fake stories. They should be concerned about putting out information that's not true.
In response, the publisher moved the book's release date from next week to today, citing unprecedented demand.
Not only is he helping me sell books, but he's helping me prove the point of the book. I mean, this is extraordinary that a president of the United States would try to stop the publication of a book.
Fire and Fury is already at #1 on Amazon's bestsellers list. Mo Langhi, CBS News, the White House.
And White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders says that staffers now see a side of Steve Bannon that is very disappointing. Bannon, the former White House chief strategist, is quoted heavily throughout the book. Up next, people around the country are buying up tickets with the hopes of winning the Powerball and Mega Millions. But what are your odds? Find out next on KAJ.